Dangerous Waters, Unexpected Love. Written by Kat Von Beck. Chapter 1. My First Swim. Clarissa's Point of View. I cannot believe that it has been just 2 weeks since my life changed for the better. The biggest shock of all was being told that I was a mermaid. Yet here I am, slicing through the water on my own. As I look at the beauty that is all around me, I can think of no more peaceful place than where I am right now, at this moment. My cousins Varun and Ashira are also out here with me. I can't see where they are right now, but they weren't supposed to be helping me anyway. This was supposed to be a test for me. I haven't been able to sit down and speak to my father yet. I finally know who he is now. He's the king of the North and South America Mermaid Kingdom. I knew that he had a family. They're considered to be royalty in our kingdom. I have also heard rumors about my father, but not all of them are good. He has been very proactive in helping increase the local mermaid population to grow exponentially. The rumors were not told to me to speak ill of my father. They wanted me to know a little of what to expect. That way I wouldn't be caught unaware when I go to visit the local kingdom. My father, Kano Firth, was in charge there. I will be the newest member of the kingdom when I go, and if I pass the test, I already knew that there was a clear hierarchy already in place. They didn't want me to arrive and be caught unaware. I appreciated them letting me know. I had already assumed that I would not have an easy time of it when I got there. Nothing in my life has come to me easily anyway. I had already expected that his official family would probably be very upset about my being there to be formally introduced. I've struggled with being accepted for most of my life. Why would finding out that I was a mermaid end up being any different for me? Uncle Ronan had told me that my father did want to be the one to come and get me. He wanted to take me back to the kingdom once he learned about me being mistreated, but he couldn't. He had already put a charm on me at my birth that was to protect me until I turned 18. I was honestly very happy to find out that there were several others like me in our pod. They will be half-siblings to me, just like the children in his royal family. I am pretty sure that my arrival will be met with anger, but I was excited. I wanted to get to meet them. To clarify, I wanted to meet the mermaids who were like me, a crossbreed. I wanted that much more than my father's official family. I was surprised to find out that there were only a few of them that had abilities like I do. I had just assumed that everyone had been born with special gifts too, as mine came when I made my transformation. I thought that they would all be much more advanced in their abilities than I was. I was learning things on the fly. As expected, issues would come up during my training. I didn't know how many special abilities I had yet. It was solely by accident that I even found out that I even had one. I went out on my first swim the night of my birthday with my Uncle Ronan, when I was surprised by my first barracuda. It was huge, about 7 feet long, and with his mouth open and his teeth exposed, I was terrified. He had been almost invisible as he had glided towards me. He was about 15 feet away from me when I first saw him. I had forgotten all the instructions that my uncle had given me a short time earlier at that moment. I only had strangling fear in my mind at that moment. I thought that he was going to take a huge bite out of me, putting my blood into the water and attracting sharks to us. The thought of me dying on my very first swim as a mermaid had been the only thought racing through my head. I started swimming backward away from it, but as it was my first swim, I did not move backward as fast as I felt I needed to. I instinctively held my hands out in front of me, like I was trying to tell the barracuda that I was here peacefully when it happened. The moment I held my hands up and out towards the barracuda, he was pushed back, tumbling quickly back away from me, end over end. It was as if my outstretched hands had created a powerful wind or controlled the surrounding water to push it back. It ended up pushing him very forcefully away from me. He was now about 40 feet away, and he seemed to be just as surprised as I was about what had just happened. He swam away from us as soon as he caught right himself. My Uncle Ronan was as surprised as I was about what had happened. He hadn't wanted to hurt that barracuda either. He told me that it is a part of our job to help the creatures that live with us in the ocean. We're not supposed to kill what we're not going to eat. I was told how the conservation of the ocean was very important to all the mer people. We live here, and conditions are just getting worse and worse with trash being thrown into the water. I could feel how proud my uncle was about what had happened. Neither one of us was hurt in that incident. Despite it being an utter accident on my part, my uncle was still very proud of me. It confirmed to him that I had indeed been blessed, whatever that meant. My Uncle Ronan didn't compliment me often, but it made my day when he did. I have only ever received praise from my grandfather, my teachers, and now my uncle. I had always craved to receive a kind comment from my family. I've gone the last 4.5 years without hearing one, and it has been hard on me. It made it all the more special that my uncle had given a compliment to me. I can remember him praising me once in front of my cousins. They had been very surprised that he had done it. He expected each of his children to excel out here in the ocean. He trained each of his 6 children to be the best that they could be. They were all highly effective and powerful merpeople. 3 of his 6 children had been blessed with special gifts. He told me that of my father's 7 royal children with his wife Doris, only 3 of the 7 had been blessed with special powers. Hearing that, I know it does not bode well for me to be welcomed into his kingdom, especially if I had received more special powers than they had. Chapter 2: The Downside. Clarissa's Point of View. I had previously thought that I would work at my part-time job all summer long. That was how I earned money for my school clothes, shoes, and supplies. But I just found out that I won't be able to work all summer long this year. I have so many things that I have to be trained on. I just won't have time for it. There was nothing that I could do about it. I will have to pass a test, one that I was assured was going to be an extremely difficult one. I have to pass it to be recognized as an actual member of the kingdom. Uncle Ronan told me that after the other crossbreeds had started to take it, it had started to become progressively harder every single year for the last 6 years. My father's oldest son, Troy, was put in charge of the test when he turned 20. Troy will be taking over from our father when he steps down. Troy loves being able to torment his half-siblings by making the test harder to pass each year. Dad knows about me finally getting my powers, but the rest of his family doesn't. At least Uncle Ronan doesn't think so. Ashira, my cousin, believes that they do know that I am coming. Uncle Ronan had mentioned me at home, and his whole family had heard about me and how proud he was of me learning so quickly. Ashira told me privately that she believed that her youngest sister, Cyrena, had told one of her best friends, Alana, about me. The problem? Alana is my half-sister and my father's youngest daughter in his official family. If that is the case, then Troy will have a lot of time to be putting my challenge together. That is the reason that Uncle Ronan has been so tough on me, pushing me to learn as quickly and as much as I can before I enter the kingdom. He knows that they're setting me up for failure, all because they're mad that I even exist. I have to do what I need to do to get that done. I already knew that I would have numerous people against me once I got there. I have to go to our local kingdom, the one which happens to be my father's, to be trained much further than I am right now. I know that I have a lot more to learn. In my head, I knew that I needed to get up to speed as quickly as I could. I'm good under pressure, though. I'm used to having a target on me. I knew that I could do this. I thrive under pressure. I like to prove people wrong about me. I've had a target on my back since middle school. I'll be starting my senior year this coming August. I wanted to try to end my high school experience on a high note. I was pretty disappointed to know that it was probably not going to happen. This opportunity that I have been given is like a dream come true. I was not going to allow it to pass me by without grasping hold of it with both hands. I'll just need notebooks, pens, and shoes for when school starts. I have a little over $1,000 in my checking account. I can make do until I make enough to get the rest of what I need after school starts. I'm just going to wear the clothes I already have in my closet. I understand the difference between a want and a need. I've had to deal with a lot of crap before. I'm pretty sure that it will happen again. My clothes may not be new, but they are clean, and that is good enough. At the end of this week, I'll be going to live in the kingdom for a month. My Uncle Ronan told me that I would be living with him and his family while I was there. That will be the safest spot for me. I'm excited about getting to meet his wife and the rest of his family. So far, I've only gotten to meet his oldest son, Varun, and his middle daughter, Ashira. Ashira told me that I could stay with her in her room. I know she wants to warn me about something, but she keeps holding back from saying what it is. I don't know if she was told not to say anything to me or not. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to find out what it is once I get there. I'll have to go to training from the end of the first week of July through to the first week of August. I should be back at home by the second week of August. I took off from work for a month. My manager was not happy about me asking off for a month. Since school was out, he could make up most of my schedule with the other teenagers, but a lot of them didn't like to work all summer. He kept asking me why I needed over a month off. I know it was odd for me to not work all summer long. I had worked the last 2 summers straight through for him, but there was nothing that I could say about it. He couldn't leave it alone and finally said, "Well, Clarissa, I hope your job is still available when you decide to come back in August." I knew he was just trying to pressure me into taking it back. He knew my home situation, which made his trying to pressure me even more frustrating. I'm always there and I never cause problems. I come in to work for others with little to no notice. I'm the best employee that he has. It was infuriating that he felt compelled to threaten me like that. I've never even taken a vacation from work before. It showed me just how little I mattered to him to treat me like that. "Hopefully it is," I told him. I gave him a tight smile and then left the restaurant. Originally, I was going to work the last few days before I left, but not anymore. I had headed home to get packed up. I'm not going to worry about that job. I could get another one, or I could just focus on tutoring more to earn money. I made a pretty good amount of money tutoring after school last year. I'm sure that I can do that again this year. I only needed to mention to my teachers that I'm looking for students to tutor. I'm sure that they'll send the ones needing help right to me. If I'm being honest, I am a little worried about meeting the rest of my uncle's family. I could tell there was a problem with the expressions on their faces when I would ask them questions about their other brothers and sisters. I might not be as welcomed into their home as I had hoped I would be. That made me nervous, as I only wanted to fit in somewhere. I already knew that I wouldn't be allowed to be included in my father's family. I've been praying that there will be some other hybrids like me there too. I would love to be able to make some more friends while I'm there. I don't have any friends at high school. I barely have conversations with my coworkers at work. The fact that I am a crossbreed was bad enough. The fact that I had special gifts was going to make it even tougher for me to fit in. Not all mermaids are blessed with gifts. Some are just mermaids, and they're not happy about it. To me, isn't being a mermaid wonderful enough? I would have been happy just to be able to be one with the ocean and see all the beauty that it holds. I know without them saying it, the target I already had on my back by being half human was pretty large in itself. Having more than one special power is going to cause me a great number of problems. I already knew that my father, Kano, and my uncle Ronan were both direct descendants of the Greek god Poseidon. From my recent studies on him, Poseidon also got very busy working to help populate not just the oceans, but all around the world. The reason that merpeople are so prevalent now is largely because of him. He was good at his work too, apparently even better than my dad. It is well known that he has a great number of descendants who live both in the water and on land. My uncle had warned me that my reception would probably not be a good one, but I still had to be formally introduced to the kingdom. Ashira went behind him to give me more information about how things run in the kingdom. That was a little more helpful. It let me know that it would be the same crap that I have been going through as a human, only it would be worse. All the excitement that I originally had about finding out that I was a mermaid was almost gone now. It was all shattered this week when I heard that news. I had already been condemned as an unwanted nerd in my human form. I honestly thought becoming a mermaid was a dream come true, that I had found my tribe, the people who would accept me. All the hope that I had for a bright future ahead has all come crashing down. I guess I'm just not wanted in either place.
Chapter 3. A Vision of a New Blessed Mermaid. Andreas's point of view. The knocking on my door had not stopped for the last 2 minutes. I finally had to call out, "Enter," in frustration. I'm busy with work, but clearly they were not going to stop knocking. I saw my younger brother Jason enter, with our kingdom's oracle right behind him. Sometimes called seers, They get visions of things to come, and their words are to be heeded. Our oracle's name is Olympia, and she has been the oracle for the Atlantis kingdom for the last 1,000 years. Each of the 6 kingdoms has one. They helped the kingdoms navigate what direction they needed to go in. Olympia is favored by the gods and is personally favored by being more powerful than the rest of the oracles. You need to listen to her when she comes to you to tell you her vision. I stopped what I was doing and gave her my full attention. I realized that the message that she was bringing had to be very important. She very rarely comes to the king herself.
Olympia, is there a problem? What brings you to my office?
I asked her.
I have had the same vision on 3 separate occasions this week, sire. I've been compelled to bring this news to you as the gods themselves wanted you to know this. They do not want you going through the contract with your betrothed. I have had a vision of who you were supposed to be married to. The one who is supposed to rule by your side,
Olympia told me. I have to admit, I am thoroughly surprised by her announcement. This was unexpected, and I wondered who it was that they wanted me to marry instead. I was pretty happy to hear this news. I have met my betrothed on just a few occasions. She is Kano's daughter, Mariella. Her father is the king of both the North and South America kingdoms. She was beautiful, just like her mother Doris. She was also hateful, conceited, and underhanded. No man in his right mind would want to be tied down with someone like that. I know I didn't, but she was the same age as me with an excellent bloodline. The thing about it was, someone's bloodline has never mattered to me. I have never wanted to marry Mariella. That is one of the things that is occasionally looked at for someone to be qualified to marry the king of any of the kingdoms. I kept myself from getting too excited about this news just yet. Doris's grandparents, on her mother's side, had come up with this bright idea. They, along with my grandparents, agreed to it with the birth of their first granddaughter, Mariella. They had been lifelong friends and wanted to keep the Atlantis kingdom stronger than the rest. It made sense, as Poseidon and Amphitrite still live here for the majority of the year. They only leave to go to Mount Olympia when they are needed. This will help my case. The gods were the ones who demanded this to happen. I knew Poseidon himself was on board with this prophecy. He is the one to personally bestow the blessing on them, for them to even be able to become a blessed mermaid. They are his personal creations. They make it known that they have his blessing at a glance. They are his most favored of all mermaids. Along with the blessing of his mark, he also blesses them with additional powers. Powers that were case-specific to them. Ones that they would need to survive. I knew without asking her that she had already spoken to him about the visions. This gives me hope that I will grow to love my wife, as she was created for me. Much more so than Mariella. I already know that my grandparents, and Mariella's grandparents, are not going to be very welcoming of this change of plans. I am also praying that what Olympia saw would be able to get me out of the contract. I honestly cannot bear being around her. Even her voice grates on my nerves. I do not enjoy being around her even when she manages to stay quiet. I feel bad for saying it, but if there is any way out of this contract, I am going to take it. I have no interest in Mariella at all, and this is very welcome news for me. I am glad for the interruption now. Do you have a name for her yet? Which kingdom is she from? Does she have a strong bloodline? You have to know that it is going to be very hard to get out of this contract. You know that this is going to cause problems between our kingdoms as well. Do you know anything about her? I asked Olympia. I need to get a game plan together, and quickly. I want to help her as much as I can. I would like to get as much information about her as I can. There are so many things to get done in a very short amount of time. I need to be able to hand off the ones who will want to enforce the contract. They have to know that Poseidon himself is involved because it is one of his special creations. He has spoken volumes already. This unknown blessed mermaid is to be my wife. I would very much like to know her name. I wanted to try and get some information about her, a picture of her at the very least. My interest is piqued. Who did the gods want to bless me with?
I already know that this is going to be bad. Kano will probably be a little upset, but as he was forced into a marriage contract himself, he should also understand why I wouldn't want to be in one. It will be Doris and Mariella who will end up losing their minds the most over the contract being cancelled. They will not accept it, so I need to make sure that everything is in place before anyone else finds out about her. Which brings me to another question. Has anyone else been given this vision, Olympia? I do not want anything bad to happen to her. If someone else is made aware of what the gods want, she could be hurt. This could be used against both me and her. I am positive that Mariella will try to kill her if she knew that she was going to lose her dream title of being the Queen of Atlantis. That is the main reason that she is as brazen and spoiled as she is. She knows that something big will have to happen to get the contract broken. I stated the obvious to the room, but I was concerned about this unknown mermaid.
No, sire. This vision was given specifically to me. I have asked Poseidon himself about my visions. He knows how much trouble this will bring for you both. I have had all 3 dreams this week, as she just came into her powers. Cassilla is her name, sire. She is a descendant of his as well. He told me that she is a daughter of Kano, but not an official one yet. She's a hybrid, and her mother is human. She is going to be brought to the North and South American kingdom. She has to be trained and taught how to use her powers. She will then be officially tested in about a month's time. Poseidon requested that he would like you to be there for the official testing. He believes that she will be put in direct danger. I have to say that if he believes that it'll happen, it is going to happen. I have never known him to be wrong about his own visions. I know that Kano's wife, Doris, and his family have now found out about her. They know that she is coming. I was shown that they were furious that she had been gifted with special powers. Especially when his own royal family didn't all get to have special powers. Mariella already hates her for being half-human. When she finds out that she is to be your wife as well, I am sure things will only become even more difficult.
Olympia told me. I am sure that you are right. I will try to make sure that I prevent her from being injured or killed in her test, I told Olympia.
I thank you for doing that, sire. I was told by Poseidon himself that 2 of her gifts had come straight from him, not including her being a blessed mermaid. He knew who she was. He told me that he had visited her before she turned 18. She didn't know who he was, but he gave her his direct blessing at that time. She can make herself invisible, sire. She has teleportation powers as well. Both are powerful gifts that she was given. She will need the teleportation to be able to travel here anyway. She will have a hard time there because the royal family there will hate to see another one of Kano's illegitimate children. You know how they view humans there. I believe that his wife Poseidon himself stepped in to try and help her. From the visions that I had seen, she has had a hard life. He is very concerned about her well-being.
Olympia told me. That is concerning. They would all be against her, and want her to fail. They will look for any reason to prevent her from being a recognized member of that kingdom. I will have to act quickly. Every single one of the kingdoms has mermaids that are crossbreeds, even this one. They are not as frowned upon here, as Poseidon himself wanted to help populate the waters with his kind. But in other kingdoms, your bloodline is what matters most to the ranked members. I can't allow them to put her life in danger. I will need to get the testing information for the last decade now. I need to see what they have done previously in their testing. That will let me know if they are deliberately trying to make the test hard enough to make sure she either fails or ends up being killed during the test. Either way, I will not allow it to happen. I don't know why, but I already feel protective of her. Now that I know that Poseidon is the one to decree it, I feel like I have the backing I need to go forward and give Kalisa as much help as she needs with this. If needed, I would either run interference for her on the test, or just bring her directly to Atlantis to be accepted into my kingdom. Chapter 4. Plans to protect Kalisa. Andreas's point of view. I looked at my brother Jason and said, I will need you to contact the other 5 kingdoms. I want them to pull all of their testing results for the last 10 years and send copies of them to us. Since she hasn't arrived in their kingdom yet, I doubt any of them will suspect anything about it. If you have trouble with the North and South American kingdom, have Kano call me directly for him to get it done. I want to know who took the test when it was taken, the route that they were given, and the outcome of the testing.
I would like it to be done in the next few days. Let me know who's dragging their feet over it. We can do a drop-in and visit them to see the records ourselves," I advised. Jason nodded his head in agreement with my request. I looked back at Olympia, as she still stood there in front of my desk.
Since she is Kano's daughter too, she will be a strong mermaid. I saw that he had also bestowed special power on her as well when she was born. I saw in my dreams that she is an incredibly fast swimmer, and had the power of water and air to force danger away from her. She is also a shapeshifter, as she will still need to go back into the human world. If I am being honest with you, I believe that she may have some other powers that no one knows about just yet. She is a new mermaid, and Ronan is assisting her. It helped to teach her some before she came to the kingdom. I can tell you in all honesty that she is one of the most beautiful mermaids that I have ever seen. She has the same colors as her tail and her hair. I have only heard of this happening in 3 other instances,"
Olympia told me.
Now I am very intrigued. In our merperson folklore, some of the most powerful queens have been given additional powers. These powerful queens were all noted as having the same distinctive trait. Their hair was similar to their mermaid tail. I have never seen it myself. I've only seen it on the scrolls we have in the library here. All 3 of them had been the Queen of Atlantis and helped to grow the city to new heights. The thought that I was being blessed with a queen that could potentially be just as strong as me was an exciting prospect. I wanted to speak to my father alone about this. I didn't want to bring my mother into it yet. She and Doris were friends. They were not great friends, as Doris hates humans. My mother was a human. My father fell in love with her and ended up turning her into a mermaid, along with the help of Poseidon. Mom doesn't know how much Doris hates humans, and they do not hang out together. Most do not even know that my mother, Athena, was originally a human. Even if Doris did, she would still defer to my mother, as she wanted me to marry her spoiled daughter. This is going to end up being a huge problem. I can feel a headache coming on. I need to get things moving now and set an appointment to speak to Poseidon himself about this. I know the oracle speaks for him, as well as for the other gods. I know that she was not lying to me about this. I just have a feeling that he will be more open to me about what is going on if I speak to him privately about it. It will be obvious to Kano's kingdom what she is right off the bat. They will know that she has been blessed the moment they see her. It has been at least 250 years since the last queen, who also blessed the same way, was seen. I cannot take the risk of allowing that vicious mermaid Mariella to hurt her while she is defenseless there in the kingdom. I only have one hope of preventing it: my sister Ophelia. I will speak to her about going to visit. I can't send her alone, but I know that several of her friends have a crush on me, so I cannot send them. They will go in with Mariella, and something will happen to Kalisa. Iris, Lyra, and Thea all have a crush on me, so they cannot go. It is going to have to be Phoebe. She has a crush on Phoenix. He helps train our warriors and is a strong fighter. I cannot send him, or they will just be flirting with each other. I've got it. Peter. He's a year younger than me, at 25 years old. He never wanted to rule. He hated the thought of it. So I ended up being the king. Peter likes to invent things and is our armorer. He designs and makes armor for our warriors to wear, and plans out training for our warriors to make them stronger. He is an excellent strategist. He is a thinker, but he hates being put on the spot to make hard or quick decisions. He loves to be behind the scenes, but I know that he will help me with this. I will speak to both him and my father after Olympia leaves.
I know that she is going to be put in danger, sire. If I get another vision of what that danger will be, I will immediately inform you. I know that she is the intended queen of Atlantis. I will do what I need to do to make sure that she receives her proper place down here with us. I have a very good feeling about her. She seems to be quite lovely, from what I get from her. She's had a hard life, but she has still kept her innocent outlook on most things. I know that she will use her experiences to become an excellent leader,"
Olympia told me, before bowing and leaving my office with Jason exiting right behind her. I immediately called for Peter and my father Christos to come to my office. We needed to deal with this quickly. I will speak to Ophelia separately. She didn't need all that information. She just needed to go there and befriend Kalisa. I know that she will do it, as she doesn't like Mariella or her sisters. If Kalisa is as nice as Olympia just said she was, she will be a breath of fresh air. Ophelia is 22 years old, just a few years older, but she will be able to keep Kalisa safe, especially with Peter there with them. When my father and Peter arrived, I locked the door after they entered. They knew it was serious and sat down on the chairs in front of my desk. I brought them up to speed quickly as to what Olympia had told me, and what I was planning to do. I could not go there myself. Mariella would not give me a moment's peace. I would have to go the day of the test, and just be on the testing trail to watch her as she completes the test. I will not intervene with it unless it is life or death. I will, however, make sure that whoever is behind an unfair course is dealt with, especially if the royal family was involved in it. They will all know by looking at her that she is a blessed mermaid. They will know that she is special and needs to be protected. If they don't, well, they had better hope that Poseidon himself steps in to help them. I will not accept any excuses as to why my future mate was hurt.
If Poseidon himself is behind her, I assure you that the contract will not stand. I do not have a problem with crossbreeds. You know your mother was a human when I fell in love with her. She became a mermaid to be with me. I cannot see myself loving anyone but her. I am sorry that you got roped into that contract in the first place. Doris is very conniving and had approached your grandparents and her parents to get it arranged before we knew anything about it. I never wanted that for any of my children. I wanted all of you to be able to find someone you loved too. I pray that this girl they chose for you is someone that you can learn to love. My father told me.
I will go with them and keep my eye out for your girl. We can be ready to leave in the morning. I think it'll be better for us to arrive before she does. If the Oracle is right, she will arrive in Kano's kingdom in less than 2 days. I think it would be viewed as suspicious if we showed up after she did. We can go under the guise of introducing the new armor that I invented and getting the testing results. I'll make sure that the girls stay with her as much as they can. I'll try to keep Mariella away from her, but you know as well as I do how much she hates humans. Doris has poisoned all of her kids against them. She is angry at Kano for going outside their marriage, but she can't take it out on him. She's going to be gunning for Kalisa the moment she arrives. I kind of feel bad for her already. I will do my best to make her feel welcome. I can't wait to go and see her. I'll send you a picture of her, Andreas, Peter told me. I know that he means well, but I am even more worried about her now after he spoke. He is exactly right. They are going to make her life a living hell. I hope that her uncle is wise enough and strong enough to be able to keep her away from Kano's family. I don't know them all well, but the few I do know are not good. His point about Doris is a valid one. That means that he has not only cheated on her while she was pregnant with their last child, but he blessed the child with a human, instead of blessing the child he had with his wife. That information may drive her over the edge. I know that of their 7 children, only 3 of them were blessed. Even Mariella had not received a blessing, and she was his 3rd child and first daughter. He may love all of his children, but Kalisa had been greatly blessed. It is not going to bode well for her when she arrives. You are right. Go get packed and be prepared to stay there for the next month. I will contact Kano and tell him that you 3 are coming. Keep a close eye on Kalisa, and please offer to train her on the side. I have a feeling that Kalisa is going to need all the help that she can get, I told Peter. I have a bad feeling in my gut that she needs more help than I can give her right now. I hope that she is strong enough to survive the next month.
Chapter 5. It's All Your Fault. Clarissa's Point of View. These last few weeks have been very eye-opening for me. I graduated from my junior year of high school a little over 2 weeks ago. I only have my senior year to go. My mother held me back a year for completely unknown reasons. I officially started school at 6 years old. I do very well at school, but I doubt that it was because I started late. I already had numerous credits earned. I only needed to earn one more to be able to graduate. I could have pushed harder to graduate early. I could have taken another class, but I had a lot on my plate with volunteering, school, work, and chores at home. I pushed as hard as I could to get everything done, but I knew that I still needed time to save up more money for college. I also needed to try to win a few more scholarships too. Because I only had to get one course done, my senior year should be smooth sailing. I should have plenty of time to work and get more funds set aside for me to use at college. I haven't decided where I'm going to go to college yet. I put in several applications to different colleges. I have volunteered at numerous places over the years, so I can show that I'm not just a scholar. I honestly care about people, so I volunteered in places where I could help others the most. At the local food pantry, Habitat for Humanity, and at the local crisis center. I also asked my teachers to write me recommendations for their alma maters. My GPA was high, and I was going to work my butt off to get where I needed to be. I have won a few scholarships throughout the years. I got some help from my teachers who knew my situation. They also kept me informed about the ones that they knew I could win. I kept my scholarship money in a separate account. I also hid the fact that I was going to be leaving for college from my mother and grandmother. They would not like me leaving, so I've never mentioned to them that I even wanted to go to college. I know they won't be trying to help me. If I'm honest, they were probably already looking for a way to get rid of me when I turned 18. Just from the way they treated me daily, they would both be happy when I was gone. They do not love me or care about me. They never have. I am the bane of their existence. My grandfather was the only one who truly loved me. My value to them is the fact that I clean the house and do all the laundry. They might not even realize when I go until they discover that their laundry isn't done like magic and the house is no longer clean. I am a disappointment to them both. They were ashamed of me and never missed an opportunity to tell me where I was lacking in their eyes. I was glad once my uncle stepped into my life. Well, I was eventually. My uncle had originally approached me at my job right before school ended. I had left my job at a restaurant on the Santa Monica Pier to head home after work. He stepped out in front of me and introduced himself. I could see that he had the same emerald green eyes as mine, as well as my dark hair. I just couldn't believe a word that ended up coming out of his mouth. My father's side of the family had never wanted to have anything to do with me before. I didn't know why he would be coming to me now. What he was saying to me was unbelievable. I didn't know anyone from my father's side of the family, and I was scared. He could have been lying to me about being a family member. So I flagged down a cop on the pier. I just needed to get back home. It bought me a little time to get a head start on walking the 8 blocks home. It didn't work out for me like I thought it would. The walk from work is almost totally uphill. It was a hard climb with my school backpack on due to it being so heavy. I could feel that I was being watched, but every time I turned around, there was no one there. I was relieved to finally make it back home, only to be yelled at for getting there late. My mother was still at work, and my grandmother was mad that I hadn't done anything around the house yet. She knows that the restaurant closes at 10 p.m. on the nights I work. Then we have to clean up after we close. The earliest I can get home is around 11 at night because of me having to walk home. My grandmother could have picked me up, she just wouldn't. She refuses to do anything at all to make my life easier. My mother is still angry at me to this day. She has always blamed me for my father leaving her after I was born. He had insisted on her having me as she wanted to abort. She was and still is an actress, and it was not going to help her career by having a baby. She gets bit parts in both TV and movie productions. She's just not a great actress. She's stiff and unnatural when you watch her work. But she is also very beautiful, so she continues to be able to get work. It is usually small background parts, despite how badly she comes across. Kano was dating her, and they were happy. He went with her to all the doctor's appointments throughout her pregnancy. He was very happy about her giving him such a wonderful gift. My mother, Jennifer, had been completely in love with him. She had dreamed of him marrying her and us living together as a happy little family. Spoiler alert, that never happened. The day I was born, he was there in the room with her, supporting her through the delivery. He had told her exactly what to name me. He wanted my name to be specific, Clarissa Marin. He just never gave her his last name to put on the birth certificate. My last name on my birth certificate is Walters. That was my mother's maiden, or birth name. He came again the next day, and let's just say it did not go well. He was not alone when he got to the hospital that fateful day. I've heard this story about 100 times, if I've ever heard it once. From the sound of it, I believe my Uncle Ronan was the one to come into the room with him that day. My father held me in his arms for about 20 minutes before finally placing a kiss on my forehead. He then put me into my rolling bassinet. He kissed my mother goodbye, even as she was asking him again for his last name to put on the birth certificate. That is when things went totally downhill. He asked to speak to her privately with my grandparents and Uncle Ronan, leaving them in the room alone with me. The sound of screaming came from the room shortly thereafter, along with the sound of items being thrown around. My grandfather, Theodore Walters, went to go in to see what was happening when my Uncle Ronan stopped him. He handed my grandfather the duffel bag that he had been carrying and then blocked the door. He knew that my father was breaking things off with my mother and didn't want things to escalate even further. That was the day that my grandparents decided that my father was a drug dealer. The duffel bag was full of money. Over $500,000 was inside the bag. Both my father and Uncle Ronan were large men. They had 3 other men with them, so the assumption grew and took root. As why else would they have so much money on hand? My mother told my father that if he did break things off with her, he would never be able to see me again. She used me as a weapon against him. She was surprised when he told her, "So be it, Jennifer." He left the room right afterward. Her rash threat still rang in her ears. She hadn't meant it. She was just trying to force his hand. She loved my father and couldn't bear the guilt and pain of losing him due to her actions. So she pushed all the blame onto me. She loves to remind me daily that I was so worthless, so unwanted, that my own father didn't even want to be around me. Even after hearing it so much over the years, it still pierces my heart to hear it to this day. I was a newborn when this happened. I didn't know exactly what went down that day. Everything that I knew had come from my mother or grandmother. I knew better than to completely trust what they said. I very much wanted to speak to my father about this. I want to know what actually happened, not just my mother's version of it. I want to get some answers as to why he never came back to see me again, why he never even tried to visit me. He knew where she lived. He had picked her up numerous times for their dates and doctor appointments for over a year. Why couldn't he have tried to reach out to me, send me a letter to know that he cared about me? Anything would have been preferable to what he actually did, which was nothing. Chapter 6. Not Paying Attention. Clarissa's Point of View. I was so caught up in my memories that I had failed to see a dark shadow ahead as I headed north to the next flag. I was supposed to be gathering some little flags that my uncle had put out. I had found a total of 3 of them and was heading to find the 4th one at this time. There were a total of 5 of them, and I needed all 5 of them to be able to pass this test. I guess I was so caught up in my thoughts that I wasn't paying proper attention. I was so thankful for my enhanced eyesight. It tipped me off just in time. The shark was about 60 feet away from me. My hearing and my eyesight have both greatly improved and increased since I turned 18. Despite the great white being absolutely silent as it approached, I managed to get my thoughts together. I tamped down my fear as I knew what I needed to do to evade a predator. With an almost silent flip of my tail, I headed directly down to the seabed, entering into the kelp fields for cover from the shark. I had stayed above the kelp field earlier. I knew that both horn and leopard sharks like to patrol the sandy floor around the kelp beds for both seals and fish. Seals like to feed on some of the fish, squid, and mollusks that they find in the kelp beds. Using the kelp as cover, I went to find a rock to hide myself against. I found a perfect place in the crevice created by 2 large boulder-sized rocks that were side by side. I pushed back in as far as I could go at the base between the 2 rocks. I've lost some weight since I turned into a mermaid, but I'm still a little thick right now. I'm only back about 1.5 feet inside my hiding place. I'm hoping that the shark's face will be too large to be able to reach me where I am. I wound my tail up behind me to protect it and to allow me to push forward quickly from my hiding place if I needed to leave quickly. I stayed silent and waited, watchful and silent while I looked for the shark. I'm even more thankful now for the coloring that I received the day I became a mermaid. It is perfect camouflage right now as I wait to see what the shark does next. I tried to calm myself down by thinking about some positive memories as I hid from the shark. It was only last week that I turned into a mermaid. I know that it will be a memory that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit when I entered the water at the pier with my Uncle Ronan. I was scared to death that night. He wanted to wait until there were fewer people around to see us, so the dark covered us pretty well. A lot of people don't swim at night. It is a known fact that sharks hunt at night. I was nervous about that and the fact that I didn't know what to do to become a mermaid. Uncle Ronan patiently explained that I just needed to calm down and allow myself to float in the water.
You have to settle down, Callie, and be peaceful. You need to focus on thinking about your mermaid form. You need to allow your tail to come forward. It will not hurt you at all. It will cover your body. I believe that you're a gifted hybrid, so you're slightly different from a normal mermaid. Only a very small percentage of us can be out of the water for longer than 24 hours at a time. A regular mermaid can only be out of the water for even less time, usually about 12 hours maximum before they're forced to come back into the water. Your tail will come up to about your waist, and it will come over your swimsuit. I promise that getting your tail will not hurt. Just relax and think of your legs as being one unit. Just focus on what color you think your tail will be, my Uncle Ronan told me. 1 minute I'm lying there with my arms out, calm and relaxed. I was looking up at the stars above, thinking about how lucky I was to now have a family that cared for me. I then started thinking about what color my tail was going to be. I couldn't see my Uncle Ronan's tail. It was underwater, as I'm sure that once we got deep enough and further away from the shore, he changed into a merman. The next thing I heard was my uncle's comment, "Excellent job, Callie." I sat up to look at my legs, but they were now underwater. When I sat up to look at my tail, it became submerged, so I can't see it right now. I can see that Kano was right. You have been blessed more than either of us thought you were. I am so happy to be one of your teachers on your journey. We're now going to swim underwater. Do not panic, Callie. I'm right here with you. I will not allow anything bad to happen to you. You are a mermaid, so you'll be able to breathe normally underwater, and your body will know what to do. You just need to stay calm. You'll have to relax to be able to do this. You need to trust me here. You were born to be a mermaid,
my Uncle Ronan told me quietly. I know that he didn't want anyone to overhear what he said, as voices carry over water. I took a deep breath and then went underwater with him. I gasped at seeing that I did indeed have a tail now, which in retrospect wasn't the best idea. The weird thing is that I don't feel physically different right now. I guess I still doubted becoming a mermaid in the back of my mind. In the dark water, it was hard to see what color my tail was. I originally had been planning to try to hold my breath as long as I could while I was underwater. I found out that I couldn't do it for very long at all. My uncle mouthed to me, "Stay calm," and I did try to relax. I wanted to go back up to the surface to get another lungful of air, but he held my hand in his, holding me there. I was 5 feet under the water, and I was starting to panic. I knew that he was waiting for me to have to take my first breath. I guess he knew when we went under the water what I had been planning to do. I took my first breath underwater, and as much as I knew I was going to drown right then, I didn't. I was able to breathe just fine. I turned my stunned face towards my uncle. He couldn't stop his bark of laughter at the look on my face. He knew I was completely surprised by this. Each time something new happened, I got a new perspective about what was actually happening to me. The thought of me being a mermaid was mind-blowing. Getting into the water and being able to become one with the water involved a great deal of trust on my part. I would not have been able to do something like this if it had involved my mother or grandmother. The last few weeks with my uncle have been great. After I lost my grandfather, Teddy, I thought that until I found a husband, I would never find someone to love me for me. But in such a short time, just 2 short weeks, I now have an uncle and cousins who love me wholeheartedly. It made me happier than I have ever been in my life
to know I had people who would stand up for me. I was still stunned that I was able to breathe underwater. I had some small gills, 3 of them on either side of my neck. I didn't know how that was even possible, but I could breathe underwater. That let me know that this was real. Everything I thought I knew now had a great deal of gray area in it. If mermaids were indeed real, then what about other supernatural beings? Could they be real too? Werewolves, vampires, dragons, fairies? How in the world was this possible? Have I been blind to it all? Or was I just not accepting of the fact that there are things that could exist in our plane of existence? Things that I honestly didn't think about before because they seemed to be too far-fetched. I was able to see even in this murky water. I've been wearing glasses since childhood. My eyesight was very poor. I can remember my mother complaining about having to buy me glasses. When I got tested in school, they told my mother to take me to an optometrist, that I needed glasses. I can still remember her complaining about having to do it. I can still hear her telling me, "There had better be something wrong with your eyes, or you're going to be sorry." There was something wrong with them, and I only got a new pair when she had to do it. Like when my head physically outgrows the frames. So every 3 years I get a new pair. The cheapest, and I'm guessing the ugliest pair that she could find. She never liked to do anything for me at all. Only the basics, and only when she was made to do it. Read that as her receiving a letter from the school, when they had to tell her that I needed more school supplies or a new pair of glasses. Chapter 7. He Wants Me to Be His Daughter. Clarissa's Point of View. Since I started working at 16, I have started taking care of my own needs. Mom didn't care why I didn't need her help anymore. She was glad that I was finally not as much of a burden to her anymore. I'm honestly wondering how long it is going to take her to realize that I'm no longer living in their house. I'm sure that it will come as a surprise to them both that their live-in servant is now gone. They only care about how they look in front of their neighbors. They both drive really nice cars, and they both refuse to take me to school or get me to or from work. I don't know how they can afford to each have a Mercedes, as neither of them has a high-paying job. Mom is hit or miss with work, but she refuses to help with the housework. My grandmother has been a front desk secretary for over the last 30 years. The cars that they drive do not fit the jobs they have. I'm now the owner of a 2-bedroom condo that is right on the beach. It is not even 2 blocks away from my job at the pier. I was handed the keys the night of my 18th birthday after I finally got my tail. My new home was a gift from my father. My uncle mentioned to me that it was best to stay close to the water, that it will call to me now that I have been unbound. My father made up for all the missed birthdays and then some in one single purchase. I know how much it cost him to buy it. I looked on the site that he bought it from and it went for over $2 million. How much money does my father have that he can throw that type of money around? My uncle had bought me a vehicle, a Range Rover Velar. I didn't want to accept it. I hadn't done anything to have earned that kind of gift. He was my uncle, not my father, and was not responsible for me in any way. He finally talked me into accepting it by telling me that we could share it. We each have a key to it, but I knew that he was just saying that, so I would accept it. The vehicle was fully mine. He has a nice car that he drives when he's in town. It was being stored in a long-term parking area. He was just giving me time to get accustomed to it. I knew that it was how I was going to get to school and back safely, and for me to be able to get groceries. Uncle Ronan had mentioned that he hadn't been able to take care of me properly before. He knew that my mother and grandmother were not good to me. He knew that they were abusive. I felt ashamed to know that they had heard how my mother and grandmother spoke to me. It was completely humiliating to me to know that they had overheard it. He had mentioned that he and some of the warriors from the kingdom had taken turns to come to watch over me for the last year as I walked home in the dark. They wanted to make sure that I made it home safely. He wanted to take me away a lot sooner, he just couldn't do it. My powers had been bound by my father until I was 18. Both my uncle and father knew that I would have to live under my mother's thumb until that time. That is why my uncle showed up when he did. They have saved me from having to live with them anymore. No matter what happened, I was thankful for what he had given me. I moved out while they were both at work on Monday. I didn't have much to do when I moved out. We left all my secondhand furniture. We waited for my new furniture to arrive before I moved in. I felt so much safer living in my little condo than I ever felt living in my grandparents' home, especially after my grandfather passed away. Both my mother and grandmother had explosive tempers. You never know what was going to set them off. My uncle and Ashira had gone with me to get towels, linens, and blankets to be able to set up the bedrooms. They also get me set up and stocked in both my bathroom and in my kitchen. My uncle told me not to worry about the cost of it. He paid for insurance on the condo and my Range Rover for a year. He also bought the condo next door to mine. They set it up at the same time we got the items for mine. That way he and his children have a place to stay. I told him that Ashira always had a place with me in my second bedroom. He just smiled and said that he had a big family and that we would need a lot of room. His condo has 3 bedrooms in it. Ashira has already told me that they would indeed be staying with me at my condo when they do come to visit. We have become fast friends, and she is like the sister I never had. One of the companies that my father and uncle own has several boats in their fleet. They own a scavenging business. They have the bulk of their boats working off the East Coast, down into the Gulf of Mexico. I never knew the number of ships that had sunk off the coast of America during their journeys. They ended up losing a great deal of the gold and jewels that they were carrying on these expeditions when they sank. They have some boats here on the West Coast area as well. From Washington State down to the bottom of California, they worked in this area too. They worked down to South America and over to the Hawaiian Islands. That business has brought in a lot of money to help in the different kingdoms. Some of the money is used for donating to the Atlantis Kingdom, as theirs is the very largest. The items found by the South American crew stay with their kingdom, as they are in it together as the North and South American Kingdom, including both Canada and Russia in it now as well. There were not enough mermaids in the colder climates to warrant having a kingdom there anymore. I was told that they both used to be part of the Antarctic Kingdom. Their numbers dwindled a lot as some moved to Atlantis and other kingdoms due to global warming, leaving less than 400 members for the former kingdom. The items that are found around the Hawaiian Islands go to help their kingdom, which includes all the South Seas as well as Australia. The European Kingdom, which includes the British Isles, Ireland, and then extends past Greece. There is an African and Indian kingdom, and a Far East kingdom as well. The inventions that each kingdom comes up with are shared between the kingdoms to help improve the merpeople as a whole. Anything that makes things easier for us is greatly appreciated, I am told. If it needs to be patented, it goes through the North and South American Kingdom. The money from it is funneled back into the kingdom that it came from to help them progress. Each kingdom has a highly lucrative scavenging business, with several side businesses that help to make sure its people are cared for properly. The one my father started is the most profitable and safest for all the merpeople. He paved the way for each kingdom to have its own operations. They drop the nets down to rest on the ocean floor. Then the merpeople swim around and find the items that they're going to take on that particular run. The number of artifacts alone that are being sold to museums is astronomical enough. The artifacts are never placed inside the net. They're swum up to the surface and handed directly off to someone on the boat to be able to preserve them from being broken or damaged. Add in the other items and you have a billion-dollar business. It isn't their only business. They have created numerous things throughout the years to make their life easier. They hold patents on all of them. They have companies that have worked with them for over 100 years and have excellent relationships with them. My uncle assured me that they have enough money for several lifetimes. He reminded me that I was entitled to some of that money too, and to accept the gifts for what they were worth. It was an apology from them both because of what I had suffered. The fact that my father wanted me and wanted to give me a safe home was the most incredible gift that I have ever received. My uncle told me that my dad had never wanted to leave me. He did want me, but he had already bound my powers before my mother started clowning. When my mother decided to give him that ultimatum, his hands were completely tied at that point. He just didn't want to argue with my mother about it anymore. He assumed that she was going to threaten him when he returned due to him not giving her his last name. She told him that he couldn't leave her again after I was born, but he had a pressing matter to deal with that day. She never knew he was a merman. No one knew. He couldn't bring me home to his kingdom until I was able to get my powers and change for the journey to go visit him. I also needed to have some training under my belt before I could be introduced as his daughter. He was trying his very best to protect me. I didn't hate him for leaving me anymore. I finally understood why he couldn't be with my mom how she wanted him to be. He already had a family. His path had been decided for him when he was born. He had no way out of it. Doris insisted that the contract between their families be carried out. Her family was highly ranked and very powerful. The choice was taken out of his hands, and he had been forced to take Doris as his wife. Chapter 8. Not Going to Take It Anymore. Clarissa's Point of View. According to my uncle, my father has never loved Doris, and still hasn't to this day. But he did care for his children, every single one of them, not just the ones he had with Doris. He rebelled against Doris, and her forcing him into marriage by going out and sleeping with other women. Some of the women were chosen because he had feelings for them. Some were chosen because he could sense that they were strong enough to carry his child. The children that he carried for the most were given special powers, either at the time of conception or when he came to meet them as newborns. I felt a little guilty that I was not going to miss my mother or my grandmother at all. I was kind of hoping that this mermaid thing would work out to be better for me than my human life was currently going. I couldn't see how it would be any worse, but I was reserving judgment on that. I know not to say the magic words of what else could go wrong because I know that it can, and pretty quickly. That first night's swim was great. I was freed from everything that had been holding me down for the first time in my life. I took off swimming quickly. Well, as soon as I figured out how to work my tail properly. I was embarrassed to say that it took me over 10 minutes to learn how to swim properly that first night. I had a dorsal fin that ran down from the start of my tail just over my butt and ran down to around where my calves were. My mermaid tail was very strong, and it helped to propel me through the water very quickly. I had not been timed yet, but it is one of the things that my uncle is planning on doing very soon. I just had to work on keeping my focus on where it needed to be, up in front of me. At the start, I was looking down as I swam. It was much easier to look down and swim. Swimming while keeping your head up is tough. You have to constantly be on the lookout for predators. It is much harder than it sounds. I had to learn to look forward and keep my head on the swivel as I pushed forward. I also had to learn to occasionally look behind me to make sure that something wasn't coming after me. There was a lot to learn, and I'm trying to apply everything I do know. I never realized that being a mermaid was such a serious business. I planned on excelling in it as best as I could, no matter what was thrown at me. I had learned to use my arms as rudders. My uncle was quick to correct me by telling me that my arms acted as pectoral fins, as I was not a boat. He seemed to love cracking jokes during training. It helped to lighten the mood, and I hope he never stops doing that. He pointed out how they helped me to be able to steer around and make my turns, to help me go left or right, and it worked very well. My uncle taught me how to drop my shoulder down on the side that I wanted to turn toward. So if I wanted to turn right, my right shoulder needed to drop down and my left shoulder needed to come forward. A lot of things that I was taught in this training session struck me as being common sense things. I picked it up quickly and it made me happy every time my uncle gave me the slightest praise. My dorsal fin helped to keep me from rolling over. It helped me to make sudden turns, using the water itself to assist me in the turn. Uncle Ronan told me that when I finally got to go to Atlantis, or at least some much colder water, I would have the same scales that were currently on my tail to continue up and completely cover my body. He also mentioned that I would have a second dorsal fin to assist in that deeper dive. I was told that it would be a much smaller dorsal fin, one that would start at the top of my neck and go down to around the middle of my back. He said that having the two dorsal fins would help me to navigate in the deeper water better. Our dorsal fins were also made to help protect us from predators. He mentioned that spiny spears can come out to protect us when we're in distress. They will help to pierce the predator that is trying to attack us when we're in danger. The day I had my first swim in the daytime as a mermaid was the same day that I got to meet my cousins. Varun and Ashira were Ronan's children, who were the most interested in getting to come to me and help me train. That was the day that Ashira took the picture of me. My tail is gorgeous.
It has 3 different colors of blue and 2 different greens with some purples and gray mixed into it. From cerulean, cornflower, and ocean blue with emerald and teal green mixed into it. My tail also had a scattering of purple and gray scales thrown into it. The colors on my scales were mixed all around, and a few of them, the green ones, had a special shimmer to them. I was in love with both the color of my tail and the color of my hair. I've never before had a reason to be proud of my appearance before, but I do now. No longer was I the ugly duckling. Previously, I had large glasses, was over 40 pounds overweight, with acne on my face. My hair was untamed, neither straight nor curly, and always looked like I hadn't brushed it when I always tried to tame it. I had changed completely in the blink of an eye upon my 18th birthday. I was never going to think badly about myself again. I now know that I was worthy of being loved. I have family members that cared about me and wanted to be around me. I had previously always stepped back and kept myself hidden away at school to avoid any problems as best as I could. I would just keep my head down and hurry to my next class. I knew that my teachers would help protect me from getting bullied. I hate to say that I had to accept the bullying that came from my peers at school. I didn't want to, as I never deserved any of it, but nothing happened when I reported it to the office or the teachers in the cafeteria. It was my word against theirs. They would always have some claim that they saw the interaction and that I wasn't telling the truth about it. After a while, you just accept that there's nothing that is going to happen to the bullies for their actions. You have to figure out another way to try to exist peacefully at school. It didn't help that my main bully's mother was on the school board. I'm sure that her mother helped to cover up all of Camilla's actions. That is all over and done with now. Along with my becoming a mermaid, I have a newfound confidence that I didn't have before. I'm both physically and mentally stronger now. I won't be putting up with bullying anymore. I was honestly disappointed with the fact that my hair went back to being almost black again once I was back in my human form. Once my gorgeous tail was gone, so was my beautiful hair. I was angry about it at first. I had finally felt special for the first time in my life. I quickly realized that I wouldn't be able to have my hair in that many colors at school anyway. Plus, I looked a lot like my uncle and cousins when I was in my human form, so that was nice too. I have felt more love and acceptance in the last few weeks than I have felt in my whole life. My grandfather had loved me. He had doted on me, but my mom and grandmother were always there to let me know that he was the only one who felt that way. In the almost 5 years since his death, the only kindness I have received has come from my teachers. I missed him every day. I loved him so much, but he has been gone for a while now. I'm glad to have met my uncle and my cousins. I already know that I'm not going to be fully accepted into the kingdom because I'm a crossbreed, let alone one who had managed to receive special powers despite my being half-human. They'll find me unworthy because of my human side. Even my being blessed with having special powers will not be able to overcome that bridge. It will almost certainly cause even more problems for me, as even some of my cousins and half-siblings haven't been blessed with special powers. I'm not going to focus on that. I was happy that, along with my training, I was losing some of my extra weight. A nice twist was that I no longer needed my glasses to see anymore. Everything was even clearer and sharper than it was before, even with my glasses. The best part, my face was now flawless. The acne and glasses kept people from being able to see the real me before. They never noticed my emerald green eyes, my long lashes, or my full lips. They only saw what they wanted to see. A girl with no friends who didn't fit in. I had a crush on one of the hottest guys in school, Aiden Woods. He wasn't the hottest guy in school when my crush started at 13. He was just a boy who told me how sorry he was for me when my grandfather passed away. He was the only one who did. We weren't friends at the time. We had just been friends in elementary school. Right up until the group he was currently in, his friends had pointed out that he shouldn't be friends with a nerd like me. I had high hopes of actually being noticed this year in a positive way. I planned on giving back the same treatment to them as they had done to me for the last several years. Chapter 9. I Won't Let It Happen Again. Clarissa's Point of View. This wonderful opportunity was a blessing, and no matter what happens, I'm going to be thankful for it. Ashira had told me that my tail was one of the most beautiful that she had ever seen. That meant a lot to me, as I knew that there were about 1,200 merpeople in our kingdom. There were a total of almost 7,000 merpeople in total for the 6 kingdoms. What Ashira couldn't get over was the color of my hair. My hair is almost the same as my tail, with some strands of color that my tail has with white streaks mixed in with it. It makes me blend in with the surrounding water very well. I was almost invisible in the shadow of these rocks right now, and I was very thankful for it. Ashira had told me that it is very rare for that to happen in the mermaid culture. Usually the hair color that you have is the color that you were born with. It stays the same once you get your tail around 3 years old. It made me very happy that I'm considered special because of my hair. I also know that it is going to bring some unwanted attention to me because of it. I had assumed that all merpeople's hair changed colors when they were in their mermaid form. I still think that it was so cool to have the tail and the hair color that I have. I was excited to see a picture of myself taken by my cousin, Ashira. She sent it to me and it looks like an AI picture. I was about 2 feet under the surface of the water, so I'm very well lit in the picture. My hair was swirling out all around me, and I looked stunning. You cannot tell that it is me in the picture at all, as you can't see the color of my eyes. Which is why I felt safe to use it as a screensaver on my phone. I couldn't help it. It was the first time that I looked beautiful, and I embraced it. Ashira has a small pouch that she keeps her phone in so that she can use it underwater. It is one of the patent ideas. She keeps it attached to her diving belt. The pouch is good down to 2,000 feet. It comes with a double seal on it that can keep the water out. The pouch keeps the phone safe and protects it from the chill of the water, too. The further down you dive, the colder it gets. She wears the driver's belt right above her waist. The pouch is attached to the diving belt by a coil lanyard. She can take pictures while keeping her phone safe inside the pouch. I was amazed, as there was no glare in the picture from the plastic. She's gonna get me one of the bags, too, for my trip to the kingdom. My Uncle Ronan is getting me a knife for my diving belt. Thinking of that memory made me grab my long hair and pull it back behind me. The last thing I needed right now was for my floating hair to get the shark's attention. I can't communicate with my uncle or my cousins yet because I'm not an official member of their kingdom. He told me that once I have been formally accepted, I'll be able to talk to them all. They can communicate telepathically with the other members of the kingdom. I'm looking forward to being able to do that, as I would love to have more eyes on this shark to tell me if it was safe to come out now or not. Fun fact, sharks do not make sounds when they swim. Isn't that just great? You do not hear them coming at all. The warning you usually get is the death shadow, as it is called. That nickname is usually reserved for the great whites, but the majority of the almost 500 members of their species do not make a sound. I think that they should rename them the silent killers, as you do not know that they are there until it is almost too late. There is only 1 or 2 of their kind that do make sounds. You only know the great white is there when they burst through the surface as they take their latest victim. Once they get you in their sight, the probability that you are about to be dinner becomes much higher. The great white looked to be at least 9 feet long from tip to tail. I only had a real quick glance at it before I dove to escape it, so it could be bigger. I don't know if it was just curious about me or if it was actually hungry. I was not going to wait to find out the answer to that either. That is the difference between life and death. I tried to remain calm, but my heart was beating pretty hard as I waited for the shark to leave the area. Great white sharks are apex predators. They're excellent hunters. They're not afraid of anything except killer whales. This shark was not worried about me at all. I see Ashira appear in front of where I'm hiding and motion for me to follow her. I knew it was safe to come out at that point. I felt like a failure as I didn't have all 5 of my flags. I'm disappointed that I may have failed my first test. It is all my fault, as I allowed myself to get distracted. I was in the middle of a test and got preoccupied with how I was going to be received in the kingdom. I had ended up endangering not just myself, but my family too. I am more than disappointed in myself right now, so much so that I wanted to cry. I've been studying the books my uncle gave me very hard. I've learned so much from my uncle, yet I failed to get all the flags. Ashira took me to the surface so I could speak with my uncle and Varun. I felt so guilty that I immediately started speaking before my uncle could stop me. I'm sorry, Uncle Ronan.
I allowed myself to get distracted and didn't pay enough attention to my surroundings. Is it possible for me to continue on with my test? I know that I have lost time with the shark, but do I still have time to try to finish my test? I asked. He glanced at his watch and said,
"You have 8 minutes to get it finished, Callie. I don't know if you'll have time to complete it or not, but you can go ahead and try."
Thanks, I told him and immediately dove. I was almost to the 4th flag anyway, so I only had another mile further out to swim. I grabbed it quickly and tucked it under my dive belt with the others before heading back to the coast. I pushed myself harder than I ever had before, as I knew that I didn't have any time to lose. I was moving very quickly through the water at the moment. That was my first time swimming this far out by myself. I remembered to keep my head on the swivel and to occasionally look behind me. I knew I was making good time, though. I knew that the 5th and last flag was at the pier. Once I made it to the beach, I was done. I loved the feel of the water sliding past me as I hurried to get to the last flag. I knew I was going pretty fast, faster than I had ever gone before, but the more I was able to get time in the water, the quicker I became. I freed my mind of everything and just enjoyed the swim as I watched for any other issues to approach. I grinned as I grabbed the last flag and headed towards the beach. When I was in about 5 feet of water, I changed back to my human form. I walked out of the water proudly, holding up my flags and heading towards my family as fast as I could to see if I had managed to make it in time. Both my cousins were smiling at me in pride. They were still toweling off as I walked up, so I knew that they had just come out of the water themselves. That made me happy. I ran up to them and looked up at my uncle expectantly. He glanced at his watch and smiled up at me.
"You still have 3 minutes. Even with the threat, you have made excellent time today. I know I'm going to have to see what your pace is now. You had to have been going over 30 miles an hour out there to get both flags in 5 minutes,"
he told me. I couldn't stop my cry of happiness from escaping. I tried so hard to make sure that I could finish. I was glad that he gave me the chance to do it. I couldn't help the shark being there, but I know in my heart that if I had been paying more attention, he wouldn't have been able to see me in the first place. I will not be doing that again. I knew what I was supposed to be doing out there, and if I failed myself, it wasn't my uncle's fault at all. He taught me well, and I will not be letting this happen again. No getting lost in thought in deep water again. That kind of bad habit can get you killed.
"Don't overthink it, Callie. You did a great job. You got here less than a minute after we did. You had to go out even further to get the 4th flag before heading this way. I'm impressed that you managed to get your time back after the shark slowed you down. You might not have seen him as soon as you could have, but you did what you were supposed to do when you did see him. You have only been training for about a week now. You're making remarkable progress and doing the best job you can. I'm very proud of you,"
my uncle told me before hugging me. My cousin also hugged and congratulated me after my uncle did. We all headed back to our homes for showers because we were going out to eat dinner tonight to celebrate my passing the test. Chapter 10, A Day at the Beach. Clarissa's Point of View. My cousins had left yesterday to go back to the kingdom with my uncle. They needed to greet some unexpected visitors. My uncle had work that he needed to get done. He was second in command in the kingdom to my father, and he had a lot of responsibilities. I felt a little guilty about him having to come here to help train me and then having to swim the 326 miles back to his home. I was glad when he bought the condo next to mine. He was able to stay overnight to help train me. I knew he was exhausted going back and forth so much. I felt terrible about him having to do it. He had told me that I had the day off today, just to get ready to go there tomorrow. I didn't have any work on the pier either, as I was leaving tomorrow. I cleaned the condo, but that went quickly as it was already pretty clean. I've just moved in. I just wanted to clean it so it would be clean when I came back. So I washed the bed linens for both bedrooms and got the beds remade. It will be fresh tonight, but it might not be when I get back. I would have to do it again once I returned, but that was not going to be a problem. It was a beautiful day, so I packed some lunch in a baggie, put some ice into bigger baggies, along with 2 water bottles, and put my sandwich on top. I decided to head to the beach and get some sun and relax. I had a towel and went directly in front of my apartment. I was south of the pier and there was a lot less traffic and people in my area. I felt comfortable enough to get out of my shorts and lay in my one-piece swimsuit. I had brought a hat with me and started out lying on my back for the first 30 minutes.
I had sunglasses on under my hat that covered my face, and I had twisted my long dark hair up in a bun on top of my head. I flipped over onto my stomach and took the hat off. I closed my eyes and listened to the waves hit the beach. The waves were so relaxing that I ended up drifting off to sleep for a little while, waking up about 45 minutes later. I woke up because I heard someone repeatedly calling my name. I looked around and then rolled my eyes. I do not want to deal with any of them. I know that one of the members of their group had probably been surfing and saw me. Now I'm going to have to deal with my classmates. This was not how I wanted my day to go. I told you it was her. I knew it was Clarissa. Why are you even out here? Isn't this pretty far away from your home? I noticed that you weren't at work today. I asked about you when I grabbed a lemonade. You always work through the summer and your manager says that you don't work there anymore. Are you okay? I could hear the fake concern in Camilla Whitlock's voice. I just stared at her. I don't answer to her anyway. We are not friends. She's a hateful, jealous person. She knows that I have had a crush on Aiden Wood since I was 12. We had been friends since we started school together, but once we started junior high, I was branded as unimportant. Aiden now dates Camilla, and she is the epitome of perfection. Her bikini was beautiful. There was not a hair out of place, and her large sunglasses covered her brown eyes and a lot of her face. I just sighed and lay my head back down. I don't have the will to argue with her. I tried to focus on the waves again and ignore her. Aiden hadn't spoken to me much since 6th grade. The only time that he voluntarily spoke to me was when he offered his condolences to me at 13. That was the last time that he had spoken to me kindly. He usually avoided me, but when any of his friends threw an insult at me, he always laughed along with them. He and his group have been surfing for the last 3 years down here at the pier. Liam Alexander was his best friend and was pretty attractive with his blonde hair and gray eyes. Liam had been a friend of mine too, but he stopped speaking to me in the 4th grade. Apparently being poor is catching, and he didn't want to take a chance by being around me. I had always thought that Aiden was the most handsome of his group. Aiden had light brown hair with bleached streaks from the sun. His soft brown eyes always concealed his thoughts. He was what I considered to be perfection. That is until 3 weeks ago. I was tutoring him along with Liam and his other 2 friends, Gabriel Hernandez and Ethan Garcia. They were all on the lacrosse team and were not going to be allowed to play the next school year if they didn't raise their grades in chemistry and pass the class. All 4 of them had been struggling. They paid me to tutor them twice a week for a month. The last week of tutoring was right before finals. Everything was going well until they picked up their books at the end of the session. I had to ask them for my payment as they all went to take off. "What do you need payment for? Wasn't getting to sit next to Aiden payment enough for this tutoring?" Ethan asked, his hazel eyes staring a hole in me as he ran a hand through his light brown hair. "Yeah, you should be paying Aiden for getting the privilege of even being around him. You know none of us want to be around you in the first place," Gabriel seconded. He had a smirk on his face as he watched my face get even redder in embarrassment. "Oh my God! She does still have a thing for you, Aiden. I'm so sorry, man. I honestly thought she was smart enough to understand that you didn't have any interest in her at all. How can she be so smart yet so delusional?" Liam mocked me as my face heated even more. It didn't matter if I still had a crush on him or not. They had 2 tutoring sessions this week. At this time, they owed me $100 each. They hadn't paid me on Tuesday, so they needed to pay me double today. I was the reason that they were even passing the class right now. They were the ones who had been desperate to pass the class and said that they would be giving me $50 a tutoring session. I never gave them a price. They were the ones who had come up with the price, but they needed to honor the commitment they had made to me. I did my end of the deal. It was only fair for them to pay. You guys set the amount, not me. No one paid me earlier this week. You all owe me money for both the tutoring sessions. You wouldn't have got to play your senior year if you hadn't passed these classes. I worked hard to help each of you. Why are you not paying me? I asked them. Because the final is tomorrow and this is our last session. Camilla said to tell you that your love-struck gaze at Aiden is your payment for this week. You should have made us pay you up front. For such a smart girl, you're too trusting. You should thank us for helping you get a life lesson. Even hookers know how to get their money up front. Liam told me before laughing in my face and then walking away mumbling about how stupid I was.
Each one of them walked away, leaving Aiden behind with me. I was thoroughly insulted. I may be poor, but Liam comparing me to a prostitute was way too far. I could feel the tears burning my eyes as I fought to keep them from falling. It didn't work. Aiden mumbled, sorry, before he walked off too. That wasn't an apology. That is what did it for me. I will never help any of them or Camilla's group ever again. I couldn't trust them, and I didn't want to have anything else to do with any of them. Eventually, I'm going to find someone else that I think is cute. Lucky for me, I have a larger area to look into now that I'm a mermaid. I seriously do not have time for their petty and childish crap. Camilla has had it out for me for years. We could not be more different if we wanted to be. Her face is slim and gorgeous. Mine is heart-shaped. She's in full makeup, even here on the beach. She just wants to be seen and have people be jealous of her toned body. I just wanted to enjoy the beach in peace, alone. Nothing to say? Camilla asked, turning to smirk at the two girls behind her. To you? No, not really. Other than you are blocking my sunlight? Why don't you go by the pier to mess with the guys? I'm sure they would look forward to your company. I told her without looking up. I already knew that she was going to be mad at my words, but I couldn't care less. I had already written all 7 of them off. I didn't want to have anything else to do with them again. I hoped they needed a tutor in their senior year. I can assure them all that no matter the amount of money they offer me, I will not be helping any of them again. Well, we saw your fat ass all the way over here, so we came over to be nice and check on you. You don't have to be a bitch to us. Camilla fired back strong. Not being a bitch. I'm just stating the obvious. We are not friends. You would enjoy their company more. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Again, you're blocking my sunlight. Have a nice day. Bye. I told them. I knew she would be fuming. My voice drew out the last word. Pretty ballsy for a piece of shit, Calissa. You know that we hang out here. I'm gonna make you sorry you ever came into our area, Camilla said, and I lifted my head as she stepped closer to me instead of away from me. She was about to kick me, so I rolled away from her as I heard a deep voice ask, "What the hell is going on here?"